Hey, my name's Jonathan, and I'm a veteran.
Hi, my name is Daryl, and I'm a veteran.
My name is Chad, and I'm a veteran.
Hey, I'm Travis. I'm an Air Force veteran.
Hi, my name's Ashley, and I'm a veteran.
Well, good evening. My name is Carol Lee. You're watching Conversations with a Vet. Thank you, everybody, for joining me tonight. I have a really special guest for you, and he will be joining very shortly. Let's see. So we've got Jason. Thank you. Present and accounted for. Absolutely. Always love having you here and supporting me every step of the way. So just a little bit of housekeeping. So let's start with some books. So I know we talk about this every time, and but definitely love promoting people who are authors or artists, singers, whatever the case may be. So the first book, that is from Lee Allen Deckelman. It is called Internal Volume. And this is really a great read. He's done some tremendous things in his time in the military, as well as where he's at today. A very good read. You can catch that on Amazon. We also have from Elvis himself, just kidding, not the real Elvis. This is his call sign, Elvis, otherwise known as Jason Lee Morrison. And he has the book called The Perfect Fucking Life. This is an anthology. And this is how he saw things in different moments during his time in the different wars. So you can also pick that one up through Amazon. We have Richard Fleek's book. This is a cookbook, From Sailor to a Backyard Cook. And interestingly enough, we have a lot. There's all of the recipes that are in here are from veterans. So you can pick this up on Amazon. All of the proceeds for this book go to his 501c3 called Minutes Wisely. And that then is used to take first responders, military veterans, Gold Star families to different sporting events. So definitely, if you haven't picked this up, you can find that one out there on Amazon as well. And then the most recent that I have that I can show you is Echoes of War, The Silent Transformation of a Soldier. And this is by Donald Dunn. And he was my guest last weekend. It is so far a great read. I just got this in the mail last week, and I am already, I'd say, about halfway through. Really good books, very well written all the way around. So thank you to each one of the authors that have sent me a copy. I'm always happy to promote what they're doing, where they're at today. So wonderful. So again, you can pick each one of those up through Amazon. And let's see, I also know if you are into comics, I know that there was one, I just have to find where I put it. Let's see. I had so much notes I take over when I have people on and write everything down. Oh, here we go. So there is a comic book that is through a veteran that we had, and that is http:// global comics, and that's with an X.com, and it's Tales of Nihilism / comics. So you could probably just search Tale of Nihilism out there on Google. You can find that. There are different comic strips. So really interesting all the way around. We've got some really talented veterans as well as current military individuals. So always want to support them where we can. So what else we got today? So I've got this little line right here across my face right here. That's my blind. So if you see me like this, it's just trying to avoid that. Okay, well, let me introduce you. So my guest tonight His name is Paul Freeman. He goes by Polly. That was his call sign. Still uses that today. I think it's awesome. And he is a Navy veteran and author. So let's say hello, everybody, to Polly. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going, Carol Lee?
It's going great. Thank you so much for agreeing to do an interview with me and having a conversation.
Oh, absolutely. And thanks for having me. And I wore my first ship attire, USS Carl Vinson.
I love it. I love how every Navy person I have had on this show comes with visual aids. That's awesome.
well, it makes things easier for us, you know. A
Yeah.
lot of what we do is visually up on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, but you know, I can talk about that later.
But it all comes into play, right? I mean, it just keeps you. Yeah, absolutely. Jason says, thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you, Jason.
So let's go ahead. We're going to just jump right in if you're all right with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So my first favorite question that I ask every guest is, if you could tell me and the audience out there a little bit about your childhood.
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. All right. No, anyways. Yeah, so my childhood, I grew up born and raised in Chicago on the north side. I come from a family of, not all of them lived with me at the same time, but 5 sisters and a stepbrother. So let's see here. Grew up on the north side. I was raised by my stepfather. I call him Pops. And then, of course, my mother. And, I was a middle class, blue collar neighborhood. You know, my Pops was an auto mechanic in the union in the city. My mom, she worked in the butcher shop at the local grocery store, and then later on at Resurrection Hospital in the cleaning department. Anyways, this grammar school I went to was right across the street, St. Monica's, and big parking lot. We spent a lot of time out there learning how to, play sports and whatever. And just kind of a normal upbringing for the most part. Growing up in the city, as a young person, I affiliated with a bunch of people that played sports, which was good because
It's a good thing.
yes, in a city like that, there's a fork in the road, and you got to be careful because it'll swallow you up really quick. So I was lucky enough to enjoy sports, so I went that way, and I didn't go the other way, which was good.
That is a good thing.
But anyways, yeah, growing up in the house, it was pretty dynamic. Basically, growing up as a kid, my grandpa lived upstairs. Grandma and grandpa, they lived at the very top of the house. And so I was, like I said, big time into sports, all that stuff. Went to Weber High School in the city. And the reason why I bring up sports is sports gave me a lot of things that I enjoyed that I found later that I enjoyed about the military. I had a lot of discipline. I had to be at places at certain times. I had workout regimens, all that kind of stuff that I enjoyed growing up in the city transferred over to the military. So the military was a good fit for me, which I didn't know at the time. Anyways, like I said, my pops, he was an auto mechanic. And I wasn't the best student in the world, to be honest with you, Carol Lee.
That was the question. That was definitely a question I was going to ask you. How studious were you?
I wasn't, because I like to run with the football and lift weights, and I did track, and I was all into all that stuff. And anyways, my pops gave me a lesson pretty early in life. So he was out there doing a brake job on a customer's car after work, and he had clientele that he took care of in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And the clientele, they all had big Continentals, white wall tires. They dressed very well and all this kind of stuff. That's all I could really say, I guess. I don't know. And he would work on their cars, and I would detail the cars for the customer. Anyways,
Nice.
one day he was doing this was a big moment for me. I remember it well. He was doing a brake job in the driveway, and I was not mechanically inclined. If it didn't have a football or baseball mitt or weights, I didn't care, and he knew that. So I didn't spend much time out there helping him. I could have been the best auto mechanic in the world, but I did not partake. I didn't want anything to do with it. Anyways, he's out there one day, and I'm about 15 years old, and he goes, stand back. I go, okay, why? He goes, watch. And he blew on the brake pads. And I said, okay. He goes, do you see all that dust? I go, yeah, he goes, that's asbestos. And I went, oh, what is that? And he goes, this stuff will kill you. He goes, look, he goes, I can't send you to college. I don't have the money to send all you guys to college. And there was a lot of us in the family, kids. He goes, so you're going to have to figure it out. You're going to be on your own. And I was about 15. And I was like, oh boy. I walked down the sidewalk away from the car, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, I got to figure this out. Life is not all about, football and this and that. There's a reality at the end of this, because I was only 5'7", about 165 pounds. I wasn't going anywhere. I was never going to be a professional football player.
Right.
So I had to figure some things out. And that's when it really hit me at 15, when he said that statement to me. Moving on, towards the end of my senior year of high school, my grandfather lived, like I said, upstairs. And my grandfather he would sit up at his little table upstairs, and he had a Navy ring on. And that Navy ring, he would call me up there, and he'd go, hey, come on up, I want to talk to you. So I'd sit at this little table upstairs, and he'd have a Pall Mall cigarette and a little glass of scotch. Now, he didn't drink a lot, but that was just what he did. And he would tap on that Navy ring like this as he was talking to me on that wood table. He goes, what are you going to do after high school? I go, I'm going to UTEP, University of Texas, El Paso, and I'm going to play football. He goes, no, you're not. I go, what? He goes, you're going into the military. You're going in the Navy. I go, I'm not going in the Navy. I go, none of my friends are going in the military. Why would I go? I'm going to college. He goes, no, you'll be back here in 2 years when you go to college, sitting here talking to me. You won't. No. He goes, you go to college in the military if you want to go to college. You're going in the Navy. And I went, he goes, so he rode me pretty hard my junior year. And so I went down to recruiting station. I said, okay, I'll go down there. I talked to him. I came back and I go, hey, this is what they're going to offer me. He goes, did you sign up yet? I go, I just got back from the recruiter station, So anyways, I did sign up on the delayed entry program at 18, 6 days after high school. I did go in the Navy. And so growing up in Chicago, I was never going to stay in Chicago anyway at 18 years old. I was moving on. I wanted to go on and do my own thing. So University of Texas, El Paso, I even looked at University of Hawaii, going there, I wanted to go do my own thing. Well, military was a perfect fit for that. So then I joined the Navy. I went to Great Lakes, Illinois, boot camp. And I did 20 years in the Navy, consecutive active duty time. And
well, let's talk a little bit about boot camp.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's. I love hearing stories of boot camp or basic training, right? So how much, now, obviously you were athletic, right? So a lot of that kind of thing, as far as the running, you had probably pretty well set for that. But as far as the rest of that goes, I mean, how much of a culture shock was that for you when you first got there? It
was a huge culture shock because the only person that really ever got my knickers was either one of my football coaches or my pops. Well, now I got somebody in boot camp, who is probably 3 years older than me, and he's in my face and he's barking at me, Yep. Oh, yeah. And so I was like, oh, I'm not Paulie here. I'm just another number, I'm just another, and I had to figure that out. And the only thing I could say about boot camp is me and the the RPOC, I get the guy that was elected to be in charge of us in our peer group.
Mm-hmm.
He was a real big football player guy, and me and him clung to each other. Well, I can remember in boot camp, going back to the physical side, I guess, putting people on the bed and then bench pressing the bed to work out.
Oh.
Yeah, because we couldn't go to the gym really. So me and this guy, and so it's just goofy stuff like that is what I remember.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Outside of that, do you have any funny stories that you can recall, either with the drill instructors or other recruits?
Well, so they gave us our drill instructors gave us one day. I can't remember, one day at some point. Hey, everybody, you guys can go do whatever you want or walk around the base freely or something like that, And he goes, and so anyway, so me and my buddy, we went to the gym and we worked out. Well, we came back when everybody came back later that day. Unbeknownst to me and my buddy, everybody had gone to some event. And if everybody went to that event, you would get a flag. Well, my friend and I, we didn't go to that event. So therefore, we did not get the flag because him and I were absent. And we were looking at each other like, well, what did we do? So they dressed us down. Them drill instructors dressed me and him down in front of everybody.
Ugh.
And I got a quick lesson. Now, I knew teamwork and all that from sports. This is different type of leadership, and that I was learning really quick on the spot. And we were special cases for about 2 days. We got to do anything and everything that it was not a good 2 days for us. So that's the story I remember out of boot camp.
Wow. Yeah, that's an interesting story, which makes, I understand where they're coming from with it, in the sense that showing that teamwork is important. But if they don't tell you that they want you to go do this, I guess it's one of those that they assume you're all good talking to each other and communicating.
Well, yeah, I don't think we were all talking to each other like we were supposed to.
I'm guessing that was probably accurate.
Yeah. And so me and my buddy went off to the gym. But anyway.
Why not?
Well, yeah. Hey, we could. Hey, why not? It was a free day or whatever. I can't remember exactly what.
Not so free. They had ulterior motives behind.
Yeah, not so free. Yep. I was very captive. I felt very captive after that for 2 days. Like, oh my God, we're getting our butts kicked here.
Yeah. You got slayed pretty good, I would take it.
Yep. Yes, we did. Yes, ma'am.
So when you graduated, obviously that is such an enlightened, really wonderful day. Did you have now the Navy? I know you know what the crucible is for the Marine Corps, right? As far as kind of a generalization, what does the Navy have for
what
that you had to pass or get through?
We had to know the commands of the quarterdeck, all the different memorized commands. What else do we have to do? We did probably some digging in the Blue Jackets manual. It was 20 years ago when I retired out of the Navy. So you go 20 years, I can't remember. It was 8.
Well, so the Marine Corps has the crucible. So in order to get your Eagle Globe anchor, you have to make it through the crucible, which is right. So did the Navy have something along those lines?
No.
That you had to get through?
No, we didn't even have guns that worked. We didn't even have it. Now you got to understand, right? And I'm singing to the choir here. A Marine is a trained killer. A sailor, they're technicians, or they're this or they're that, or unless you're Navy SEAL, which those are the exception, obviously. But we didn't.
Did you do water training?
No.
Really?
I think we did do the dungaree thing where you flip your pants over and you float in the water. I think we did go to the pool once or something. But yeah, it wasn't like, not that it didn't, let's just put it this way. It didn't have boot camp didn't have a whole lot of impact on me other than, learning how to march with the rifle, the pretend rifle and doing the steps and all that. but not much there.
Interesting. So what was your PDS? Where'd you go?
All right. So I started out as a aviation bosun's mate. I didn't even know what that was when I joined. They offered that to me at the recruiting station. They said, that rate, do you want to make rank quick? I go, sure, why not? Who wouldn't? They go, here, then go here. You can make rank really quick in this field. And I was like, well, what about these other ones? Yeah, you can do that too, but this one's wide open. So I picked it. I didn't know. I went off to Lakehurst, New Jersey for 2 months of school for catapult and racing gear engines on the carrier, for the carriers. And then after that, I got my first orders. I met the USS Carl Vinson after tech training in Japan. And that's when I got on board in '84 on the USS Carl Vinson.
And so what exactly was that job?
So that job was, so when the jets come up, when the jets get fired off the ship, and then when they land, the equipment that launches them off the ship, the catapults, that's what I was working on. And then behind the ship, when they're landing, the cables that go across, I worked on those machines too. Well, I was in shock in what I did. I had nobody to walk me through any process or nothing,
Really?
except going into the Navy, nobody talked to me, nobody sat me down. My grandpa had the ring and the Pall Mall, and he was just happy I was in the Navy,
Yeah.
So,
following in Grandpa's footsteps.
Yeah. So, and actually, I got three grandparents. He was my step grandpa, and then my real grandpas were. One of them was a doctor in the Army. He was a surgeon in the Army, and then the other one was killed in action. He was an Army Air Corps pilot, so I never met him. And so that's my military, my grandfathers. And so anyway, so I got into this job on the Carl Vinson. And anyways, so I had a machinery space, and it had paint all over these brass lines and everything, and because I could see the chip paint on these lines. I'd be in this space for 24 hours a day sometimes, because when you work the catapults on a carrier, there's 4 catapults, and you're a crew member on that catapult. If that catapult breaks, that war machine, that carrier, is not in a higher military ready status. It drops it down a notch, right? Because now they only got 3 carriers. So you have to stay up until that catapult is fixed, and you're on that crew, and that's your job. So I'd be up for sometimes 36 hours with no sleep. I'm not kidding you.
Oh, wow.
It was nuts. When the catapult broke, we had to stay, and then we had to fix it. And then by the time we get it fixed, then it's time to start flight ops again for the next day. Well, now we're doing that all day. Anyways, I had this machinery space. The water breaks at the end of the catapult. The pistons, it's like a double barrel shotgun. These pistons connect, and they go down to this 360-foot track with a jet on top of it, and it launches it in off the ship. All right. And the end of the catapult was the water break room. Well, it had all this paint and all this brass lines and all that. Well, since I spent so much time in there, I took all the paint off of every brass line in the machinery space, and I shined it all up. Well, the master chief of our department of 600 people, he's the E9, the #1 dog. He came down to my machinery space one day, and he stopped in there and he looked. And I go, hey, Master Chief. He goes, Freeman, I see you again. He goes, he was the Master Chief at my tech training before I got on board the ship.
Oh, wow.
So he goes, did you do all this? I go, what's that, Master Chief? He goes, all these brass lines are shiny, and did you do all this stuff? I said, well, yes, I did, Master Chief. 2 days later go by. He comes back down. He goes, hey, did you ever think about working up in the tower? I go, what, the tower on the ship? He goes, yeah, basically the air traffic control tower. And I went, no, I never been up there. I see it from the flight deck. He goes, how would you like me to take you up on a tour of it? And I went, I have to go ask my chief first. And he started laughing. He goes, I think I got that covered for you. I said, oh, I'm sorry, man. Yes, of course, Master Chief. They all work for you. So anyways, a week later, all the rumblings on the catapult crew were going, oh, look at this. Paulie's he's going up to the tower with the Master Chief. Oh, look, special. What's this all about? Oh, you brown noser, you all this.
Oh, yeah.
So I get up there and I'm up in the tower at night watching flight ops. And I was in awe. This was kind of my breakthrough to get into real aviation. And I was looking around and he looked at me. He's a big guy, big biker type guy. He took a liking to me. I don't know, Master Chief Wells. And he looked down at me, he goes, hey, you want to work up here? I go, how do I work up here? He goes, you would be trained, obviously, but if you want to work up here, you just got to give me the word, yes or no, and you're up here. And I looked at him, and I was looking at the catapult engine like, oh my God, I've been up 30. I'm tired of walking around with grease all over me and staying up for 20-something hours, 30 hours. And I looked at him, I go, are you kidding me? He goes, no, if you want to work up here, I'll tell your chief, and you'll be up here in a week. So he put me up there. That changed my whole life. So then I worked up in the control tower with the air boss and the mini boss up there. And eventually I worked my way up there, worked up in the different stations and got trained all the way up. And then I became the supervisor up there. Now I was an E5, a second class petty officer, and I'm the tower supervisor working directly for the air boss and the mini boss in the control tower. It was amazing. So that catapulted my whole career. And that Master Chief Wells, God rest his soul, I wish I could have met him or something, but there's another pivotal moment in my life where somebody took an interest. Out of 600 people in a department, he plucked me out of a machinery space and brought me up there, gave me a chance,
That's awesome. So you obviously were, I shouldn't say obviously, I'm assuming you were then deployed at some point in your career.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about the first one.
Okay. Well, the first one was what I was kind of just describing you about. I was just telling you, the first one involved working in the catapult, and then eventually that cruise, 8-month cruise. It's not really a cruise like the Carnival Cruise Lines.
Right.
Yeah. That's when I did that. That was the first one I did.
And where'd you go?
We went all over the Pacific. So in the Navy, you're either you do med cruises or you do Westpacks on these carriers. And I was based out of Alameda, California, the Carl Vinson. So we did the Westpacks, the Pacific. I went to Australia, Philippines, Hawaii, Singapore, wow, Japan, everywhere, and I did all this before I was 20 years old. Because like I said, I left the Navy. I went in the Navy 6 days after high school. I was 18 years old. So by the time I was 20, I had already been all over the Western Pacific. But in totality, in my whole career, I did 4 cruises. I did 3 cruises on the USS Carl Vinson in 4 years. So it was an 8-month deployment, then 2 6-month deployments. And then later on in life, in my career, towards the end, which led to my first book that I wrote, The Legendary Hunters of Texas, we ended up on the USS Theodore Roosevelt. And by this point in my career, I was the aircraft maintenance chief for VFA 201, called the Hunters in Fort Worth, Texas. I could segue into that story a little bit if you'd like.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So I was the maintenance chief for a fleet of F-18 aircraft. We were a reserve squadron. I was active duty, but I went over to what they call this thing called TAR, where they take active duty members and they put them in reserve units.
Okay.
And we trained the reserves every They're 1 week in a month or 2 weeks a year to keep them proficient in case they get mobilized. Well, at VFA 201, and after 9/11 hit, we got mobilized in 2003 to go do the shock and awe airstrikes with an active duty air wing off the coast of Syria, the USS Theodore Roosevelt. We did the shock and awe strikes in March of 2003. And then what our job was is we were dropping off our F-18s. We were dropping GPS and laser guided missiles off into northern Iraq and our job was to provide ground support. So our jets would take off on the carrier. They would fly over Turkey. And I don't know if you remember, Turkey wouldn't let the U.S. military fly over Turkey to get into northern Iraq. Well, I was sitting on the ship waiting for the clearance for that at the time on the Roosevelt. And then when they opened up the airways over Turkey, our pilots, we got the jets loaded up depending on, so the weather in northern Iraq drove whether we put GPS missiles or laser guided missiles on our jets to go launch into northern Iraq. So we used both types. Anyways, a pilot would take off on the ship on the Roosevelt. He would fly over to Turkey in an F-18. He would plug for fuel, get fuel from a KC-135, fly over to northern Iraq, strategically drop missiles that were programmed for bridges, runways, comm centers, what have you. And that would allow the ground troops, the special forces, to let the ground troops come up into northern Iraq to take over northern Iraq. And why we were over there at the time was my job to ask. I was trained to do a job, and when we got over there, I didn't get into the politics of it. Are we over here for the oil? Are we over here for this?
Right.
Why are we over here? We haven't found no weapons of mass destruction. To me, as the maintenance chief, as a leader for my shift of 100 people on my shift, I didn't get involved with that. My whole job was to make sure those jets were ready to go for the mission the next day, and that my shops and my supervisors did what I was asking them to do, and so to get the jets ready so we could do our support, our mission for the next day. And anyways, the pilots, though, they did 7-hour flights in the F-18, leaving the Mediterranean, going over to Turkey, dropping northern Iraq missiles, and then they would turn around, plug, get fuel, and then come back to the ship to land. And that was a 7-hour flight in an F-18. I tipped my hats to the pilots back then on that, because I was like, this is where they're really earning their bucks. Because you're sitting in that chair right now. Just imagine you're like this for 7 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we had one of our guests, actually we've had a couple, but one in particular, when I'd asked him to be a guest and tell his story, he was like, well, I've never been in combat. I don't really have anything to say, but he agreed. And 3 hours later, he was a 3-hour show, great guest. It was a lot of airplane talk and landing and catapulting off and the nighttime ones. And so he had some incredible stories just like that,
Well, I could tell you one story, because as the maintenance chief, the pilots, when they land and get out of their jet on the flight deck, they come right down to maintenance control. And that was where I was the chief for, as the maintenance control chief. So I would see the pilots before they did their mission, and I would see the pilots after they did their mission. And these guys would come down after their mission, and you could tell visibly they are just like, they could take on the world, Yeah. And so the Mediterranean during that time frame, March, April 2003, the sea state is rough. So it's choppy out there. So what was happening was the pilots would be coming back from their 7-hour mission. Now they got to land on board the carrier, and it's dark out. There's thunderstorms. The deck is pitching.
Yeah.
And when the deck pitches, so a carrier, when it's going through the water and the jets are coming in, their normal glide path to the cables on the ship is a 2.5-degree angle, glide slope angle. When the ship pitches more than 20 feet or more, we change the glide slope angle to a 3.0 glide slope angle, because what you want is you want that tail hook to have higher clearance to the back of the ship. All right, so that they don't hit the back of the ship.
Right.
So they're coming at a steeper angle of descent, and not only that, but now they're taking lightning strikes on the nose of their jets. They're losing their navigational aids, and now they're coming in, and the landing signal officers who are outside if you're coming into the ship, the left side of the ship, they're talking them in, talking them down, and to lose all your navigational equipment. And I understand it because I'm a small plane pilot, flight instructor, commercial pilot. So I understand the navigational stuff, and pilots knew that too. So they'd come down and come, Chief, I lost my needles. You know, his glide slope and his direction is basically, it's called if you put your needles on your gauge, your nav gauge, when you're coming down, and you keep them centered, you're on glide. But without any of that stuff, because the lightning strike took it out, now you're relying totally on the landing signal officers on the left side of the ship.
Right.
They're looking at a TV and making sure you're in those needles on the TV. And so, you know, all I had was a compass, Chief, coming down on final. I'm like, oh my God, you know, geez, all right, write it up. We'll get it fixed, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Some really interesting stories about that. So,
Yeah.
and I want to think that he had said on average they'd had at least each deployment that there'd be like 3 people that they would lose.
So I could tell you, yes, I've seen tragedy up on the flight deck. I have.
Yeah.
I've seen, I've seen bad things happen. People killed and jets going in the water, and you name it. On that particular cruise, the 2003 Roosevelt cruise going into OIF to support the shock and awe airstrikes, we didn't lose anybody.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that was. I got goosebumps just thinking about it. To be honest with you, I do. I got goosebumps right now. Holy cow! I didn't know this interview was going to bring that out in me.
See,
wow.
And this is just a conversation, right?
Goosebumps. They're still there. Holy cow! Oh boy.
Well, see, I'm excited. I think this is great.
Well, as a shipmate in a unit, you don't want to lose anybody. As their maintenance chief, you definitely, it's my crew. I don't
take responsibility.
Yeah, I don't want anything bad to happen to pilots or the crew. But this story, this unit that I'm telling you about, led to me writing my first book, which is The Legendary Hunters of Texas. And what that was about is am I on the right track for you?
You're doing just fine.
All right. That's good. All right, good.
Let's see if I can bring up that book. Bear with me here a second.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
I'll try and get what I can within this interview told to the audience.
Oh, and it will take as much time as you care. So,
okay.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, my buddy Kurt, I was a shipmate of his back in the day. Kurt, he's actually, when he retired out of the military, he's a pretty famous bodybuilder, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went on to champion some bodybuilding stuff, and he's pretty well known in that business. Hey, Kurt.
And you said the first one, the legendary.
Yeah, the Legendary Hunters of Texas. That's the
add this here.
That was so that's the first book I wrote. But I'll hold on for a second.
I keep trying to get it to pop up, but it wants to be difficult.
Yeah, I was.
There we go.
My buddy Kurt made chief. I was already a chief, and when you make chief in the Navy, the current chiefs, we get to train them for 2 months. Let's just put it that way. And
So this should be popping up for you here in just a second. So the legendary hunters of Texas. This is a true story of honor, courage, and commitment. Can you see that pop up yet?
yeah, I could see the multiple.
Okay, but you don't see the individual one?
I know I see all the pictures, but
Let's try this again.
there you go. You're on it now.
Okay. You see just the one.
Yeah, for now, I guess.
I'm waiting. I'm watching too on separately to see. So, okay. Can you really just see can you see just that individual one?
I see all your pictures.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's being difficult. I was trying to pull them up one at a time.
As you pull that up, so what happened was how this book became published in 2016 is our unit was a reserve unit. When we came back from deployment, the admirals got involved because we showed the active duty that the reserves can hang with a carrier air wing, active air wing in a combat situation. We were the first reserve fighter squadron in the Navy's history to go into combat and do combat. And when we came back to Fort Worth, Texas, after our mission, a couple of years later, they shut us down politically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, so anyways, a bunch of the shipmates got a hold of me or whatever and said, "Hey, Chief, write the book about us." And I was like, I never wrote a book, you know. They go, "Oh no, we want you to write the book." So I did a documentary on our squadron, and I said, you know what? When it became from the original date to when we shut down, and I captured some of what over the different eras of time. And I said, all right, guys, I write the book, but I'm going to donate the money back to the veterans to help the veterans out so that even though our unit is closed down, we could still make a difference in a small way using the donations. So at that time, I had been promoting the book, and I had been at air shows and what have you, and signing books. And so I was at the Fort Worth Air Show. Blue Angels were flying that weekend. And I was at my booth, and this is how I got involved with Gary Sinise Foundation. A lady came up to my booth and says, "Oh, I'd like one of your books." I go, "Okay." I go, and I was starting to tell her, my mission, my story. "Oh no, I know who you are." "Oh, okay." I go, "Well, what's your name?" And she goes, "I'm Gary Sinise's promoter." I go, "What?" I go, "You're Gary Sinise's promoter?" And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "So can I sign a book to Gary Sinise and you're going to give it to him?" She goes, "Yeah." Well, my wife was with me, and me and her looking at each other like, what? This is crazy. She goes, "Hey, guys, after the air show, meet me, and I'll get you guys tickets to the concert. You'll be my guest." And I went, okay. So
that is awesome.
So after the concert, my wife and I get going down, and we meet the lady. And she's walking back to me from her car with the book that I signed to Gary Sinise. And I go, "Why are you giving the book back to me? I thought you were giving it to Gary Sinise." She goes, "Well, I just got off the phone with him. He wants you to hand him the book at his concert." I went, "What?" I said, "You're kidding me." She goes, "No." So you're going to be my guest. So we show up at the concert, the Snowball Express at DFW Airport. And we're sitting up front with his promoter. And the concert's going on, the Lieutenant Dan Band. He's playing the bass guitar. Yeah. And she's like, "All right, get ready." And I'm like, "Get ready." She goes, "You're going up." And I'm like, "What?" I go, "Hey, I guess I'm going up on stage, babe." And then she looks at it. She goes, "Oh, no, hold on." She goes, no, we're going to meet him at his bus after the concert." I go, "I guess we're meeting him at his bus after the concert, babe." It was pretty loud, so I was kind of yelling at her. "Hey, this is after the concert." We get up, and lo and behold, she takes us over by the bus, and Gary Sinise walks out of his bus, and there's a big gaggle of people. She goes, "Hey, where's Chief Freeman at?" And I go, "That's me right here." And he goes, "Hey," and he comes over and he starts chumming it up with me. And I couldn't believe how humble this guy was. And he actually said, "Thank you for what I'm doing, donating the proceeds of the book." And I'm like, I go, "Can I take this opportunity, Gary, and just say something on behalf of everybody in the military?" He goes, what do you got?" I go, "I just want to say thank you for what you're doing for all the troops and going out and doing the concerts." And he goes, and he looks at me, he goes, "Paul, it all counts. Thank you for what you do. I go, oh my God, this is crazy. We spent 30 minutes talking to him, and we got paid
Wow.
and all that. So he is so humble. It is beyond belief, you know. So that inspired me to donate the little money that I do make off of these books to him. So that's kind of the story on the legendary Hunters of Texas.
Excellent. Well, I have a couple of people who have joined tonight. The first one we have, he has been a friend of yours since 1997, Curtis Sperry,
Yep.
when he was selected to Chief Petty Officer. Curtis, thank you so much for your sacrifice and service. Much appreciated. We also have here
Good friend of mine there.
Scott Birmingham. He went to high school. Does
Yep.
it feel like, one of those roasts that they do, right? When they bring on all the people from your past?
No, I'm in touch with these guys somewhat,
Yeah.
through social media. Love his book. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Kurt. Means a lot. Appreciate you guys chiming in with us here. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, Scott definitely was a Weber Red Horde, Weber High School, and yeah, I was 2 years ahead of him. But yeah, Scott, he does a lot of great things for our high school, which is shut down now, no longer exists because of enrollment. But we still have an alumni for Weber High School that he's part of. So, anyways, little going off on a tangent.
No, that's fine. It's just a conversation.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Right?
I don't know. So talking about the vets, and I meet a lot of veterans out there, and you know what? A transition from military life to civilian life is not always easy for everybody.
This is very
When my pops told me after he blew the brake dust off of that car and said that was asbestos and you got to figure out how to get your college education. When I went to the Navy, I was taking college courses. So my friends back then that I'm still friends with now, you were an animal. You were going to classes, and between this, I was sitting in classes on the ship, the machinery spaces where we'd fly professors out there, and I'd be in class and I would have grease covered all over me. I'd be sweating, and I'm learning economics, because I wanted it that bad. Because you know what? In life, nobody gives you nothing. And if they give you something, it's a blessing. Otherwise, you know what? Life, you got to do it. You got to do what you got to do for yourself.
That's right.
You got to take care. You got to, and if you could change your mind, you can change your life. It's a mindset, people. Mindset. If you want something, change the way you think about it and go get it. And so anyways, I was going to college on the ship and then on the shore when I had shore duty. And I actually got up to, I got my master's degree all the way up to my master's in aeronautical science. And I was going to night school all the time. I stayed enlisted. I was going warrant officer at one point. But I decided at 20-year mark I was going to be done. So I pretty much homesteaded myself against my commanding officer and my master chief's wishes. I didn't go up for promotion for the last 5 or 6 years in the Navy. I stayed there. And so I was going to go get a commission, but then I said that I could retire at 38. I got my master's, my bachelor's degree. I got my pilot's. I'm a commercial pilot, all that stuff, and a mechanic, aircraft mechanic certified. So I took my box of stuff and I went to the civilian sector with it.
Nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah. So that's how I got my college, because you said you want to talk about some college. And then eventually what was happening when I got my master's, I was like maintenance chief for the unit that we got deployed on in Fort Worth, Texas. Well, then I became an adjunct instructor for the university on base. So after work as a maintenance chief, I would go and teach aircraft systems at the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University on base. And some of my students were people that worked for me in the unit. College. This is night school, college. So then I became a college instructor. But So we talked about the legendary hunters of Texas. This here represents the home away from home book.
Ha! There we go.
Oh, that was on the USS Theodore Roosevelt there in the Shock and Awe. And I typically what I would do is, as a maintenance chief, is I would walk before I started my shift and conducted my meeting for my night shift folks. I would walk the flight deck and look at the jets, talk to the troops, see how it's going, how the jets look. You know, I'd go down to the hangar bay, and I was up on the flight deck before my shift, looking at the jets, checking it out, talking to the troops, and there's that picture.
That's a great photo.
Oh, thank you.
That's a great photo.
I appreciate that. And I don't know who took it. I don't even know how I still have it, but I do.
I know I've got more. Keep talking.
Yeah, I just get as much as I can out there, I guess. And you know, the legendary hunters of Texas, it's not my book. Like I said, I wrote that book. That book's for the folks in the squadron and the unit that we all, you know, go back in memories and think about our good. That was the best unit I had ever been in. It was just, we were just like a NASCAR race team, and it was a great unit to be in. Oh my God. And we did great things. We made history in that unit. And I just want to thank all the hunters out there for their support and what they provided me while I was writing the book. And I tell you, writing a book is easy if you're passionate about something and you lived it. So I lived that book. And so when I sat down to write it, it's only a 100-page paperback. It's small, but the manuscript was like 140 pages. Oh, wow. And it took me 2 weeks to write it. I literally put myself back in the unit and relived and put myself back in different times. And it was easy for me to write. And then I got it published and donated the money to the vets, you know. And then, you know, years later, you know, somebody says, "You're going to write another book." And I thought, what am I going to write another book about? You know, I got whatever you want to call it. I got told by my troops, "You're writing a book, Chief." You know, so I wrote that one. So that was the motivation. The motivation behind the Home Away from Home book, which I think I sent you a picture of that one.
Let's see. I think somewhere here.
That picture right there, by the way.
Oh, let's go back.
That's the back of my head. And that is me looking at the USS Carl Vinson Tower. You see the very top of the tower where the windows are?
Right up here?
That's where I worked.
That's
Richard
awesome.
Fleek took that picture when we were on the ship together back in the early 80s.
Really?
He took that picture and he didn't get it to me till years later. He goes, "Hey, by the way, I tried to take a picture of the Carl Vinson and your head was in the way." Yeah. So Richard Fleek took that picture.
Oh, that's a great photo.
Yeah. He thought so. He thinks so too. He won't tell me. He'll probably tell you, but he definitely won't tell me. That's for sure.
So this is the Home Away from Home book that you were talking about.
So the Home Away from Home book was basically written so in the book, I got about 6 or 7 or 8 folks that I served with on the Carl Vinson back in the 80s. I got their stories in the book. So I wrote the book about how I got in the military, some of the stories I've told you, and I put that in there. But I also put my shipmates that I can get a hold of that were willing to give me their stories of when we were all on board the ship together. And they're in there as well. And the concept with that book is the same as the Legendary Hunters of Texas. I sell books. I donate the money, the proceeds. And at the time I was doing Gary Sinise, and now I donate the money to Minutes Wisely. I'm on the board with Minutes Wisely with a great group of people. They all got big hearts, and we all have a desire to try and support our vets, and everybody on the team has different talents and brings things to the table that make it work. And I decided to go from the Gary Sinise Foundation with my proceeds to Minutes Wisely to support Fleek, and so that's where I'm at now with the book proceeds. So if anybody wants to order these books, they're on Amazon. And the links are on Facebook on the Conversation with a Vet, or on my homepage. You can go in the comment section, click on the links, and you can order the books. By the way, Carol Lee, I will get you the 2 books. It'll be next week sometime, because we're in transition right now, moving. So
Understand. We know how that goes. I appreciate that. Thank you.
absolutely.
Be happy to share that with everybody
Yeah.
as well. So be on the lookout for that. Now let's see. You'd sent some other photos. Here we go.
That was at my daughter's wedding in California last year. And what astonished me is I had my uniform from my Chiefs uniform, but the darn thing shrunk on me. And I was like,
I hate when that happens.
How did my uniform shrink on me? So so I went out to the base and got a new Chiefs uniform for the wedding, and walked my daughter down the aisle in my Chiefs uniform, and her grandfather, who's been very inspirational to her. He was a Army officer who got hurt in Vietnam pretty bad. So it was me on one arm and him on the other arm, and we both walked her down the aisle together in uniform, both of us.
That's awesome.
And then we handed her off to Jacob, and we turned around and hand saluted and sat down. It was pretty cool. Which I got to talk about my kids. I got 3 kids, 2 sons. One graduated from University of Tennessee in Knoxville. He works for his father. I'm their stepfather, the 2 boys.
Okay.
And then the other one is at Purdue, kicking butt. He'll be graduating, next year. And then my daughter in California, she's a speech therapist, and she's married out there to a nice young man, and they're doing good. And my wife is a nurse, Francine. She's a travel nurse. She's out on travel right now, out doing travel nursing. Yeah, we had the Navy NASCAR. Huh?
It's a little blurry.
Yeah, we had the Navy NASCAR show up at our squadron, so we had photo ops. So I took one.
That's awesome. I think that's incredible that you had that opportunity to do that.
Right before I retired in 2004. Yeah, so like I said, my wife is travel nurse. My wife is very supportive of my my shenanigans. I mean, my desire to help out vets when I can. And so, and that picture right there was on the Carl Vinson back in the 80s.
All right.
Yeah, look at that. Oh man. Oh boy.
I have to say, yeah, you guys are Navy. I have found most Navy veterans that I've had as guests just really come prepared with all of the visual aids and photos and hats and all sorts of things. I think it's wonderful. So I really appreciate you sending those to me. I know you sent me the photo with you and Gary Sinise, and I'm not sure where it went. I thought I sent it to my email, but I think it might still be on my phone somewhere.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Whatever you think is fitting or you could get to. So I do want to say, I want to say thank you to the legendary hunters, the squadron units, everybody that supports me, gave me stuff to write the book. I want to say thank you to my shipmates. Yeah, Fleek. Hey, Fleek, you should have been a photographer. That was a great picture with the back of my head.
I thought it was a really good picture.
Yeah, I did too. I want to say thank you to my shipmates that donated to their time and stories to the Home Away from Home book. And I'd like to make a special thanks to my wife, like I said, who was very supportive of me. And I really appreciate, everything she does and puts up with me on this stuff. And because I got a day job just like most of us. And so this civic duty stuff, helping the vets, is important for all of us to try and help each other out. Vets, they get tired and all that. And, the ones that are struggling, I would say if you get tired, just rest, but don't quit, just rest. Because mental PTSD, now I hate the D part on PTS.
Many do. I've noticed they've taken it off.
I don't like it because I don't think it's a disorder. Um, uh, yeah, thanks, Rich. Yeah, he goes, Paulie's hard to put up with, but Francine's a saint. I agree with that. um, but PTSD, they took, I don't like the D. I don't think it's a disorder. It's something that they happened and it's a traumatic event, and it, the psychic and it does affect people. And I see a lot of vets that have a hard time transitioning from the military to civilian life, and for whatever different reasons, I unfortunately whatever you see vets, they're self-medicating, and you wish they could go get some help instead of self-medicating, and but the VA. I went to the VA recently. I have a regular doctor, but I went to the VA for this appointment, and I'm just going to share this with everybody. When you go to the VA now, you go there for a hangnail. I don't care what it is. You go there for anything. When you go to your appointment, the VA now takes you off to the side in a room, a private setting, and they ask you well-being questions for your mental well-being. And they go, this is part of our new process. And this just happened last week. I went, what? They go, yeah, we ask the same questions to every vet once a year now when they come in for their appointment. And if we get a response, we do it, and you do it in front of a doctor behind a closed door. If you get a response that triggers that doctor to say, hey, you need to talk to somebody, So the VA, it's easy to bag on the VA. No, they don't do enough. Okay, they could do better. But that was something that I just learned that they do. They screen in every person that comes in for an appointment privately once a year when you show up to ask those questions. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's, because, you don't know. They might get some folks in there to come in for an appointment, and, they might be really bad off,
Right.
And so that's good that they're doing that screening,
I had heard it was a couple of attorneys, like for veterans, and I don't know if they're out of Texas. I don't know. It's something I'd seen on YouTube several months ago. Like when they first started doing that, the VA asking certain questions, then they would start asking about setting up a trust or something along those lines, I guess, to certain people, certain veterans. And if they did that, if they talked them into doing that, then they would turn around, even though I don't know that they're supposed to, and would, I guess there's a couple of cases of this, and they would actually send that information off to the powers that be, and then strip the rights of their Second Amendment away.
Whoa.
So
I don't know about that.
yeah, so if, just to kind of as a side note, now this is something, like I said, it was a couple of attorneys they had done they're on YouTube every now and again, and I can't remember what the name of it was called. But something to do with, if they would talk to you about setting up a trust for your financials, things like that. And, and then if you made anything, any comment about some certain issue or something, it wasn't kept inside the VA, which was interesting.
That is interesting.
I don't know how much of that, I don't know anything about it. And I'd have to do some more research and find, but I know that when it was out there, when I watched the videos, they were, the attorneys very specific. So, but it's been several months. So when you brought that up, it just kind of reminded me about that. Wow.
Yeah, no, this was more on the, the mental well-being of the individual coming in there. But yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And that's why your platform and other, Fleeks and other people's platforms out there, this is a great platform to share information as well. I just went to a doctor's appointment last week to VA, and now they once a year, if you go to the VA, you're going to get sat down and asked those questions.
Well, it's interesting too, because regular doctors now are doing that also.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. My
you know,
regular doctor asks, "Hey, how are you?" You know, and that's an open-ended question, obviously. You know.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And then if you
But
start going high and right, they go, "Oh, okay, you might need." All right, I guess I don't know.
but I think in I think it's important, right? When it comes to veterans specifically, which is what we're talking about,
Hmm.
it's important to let them know. For one, there's people who can listen and
Yeah,
are there for them and, support them. So that
absolutely.
22 a day or more, whatever it is now, to do what we can to bring that number down. And the only way to do that is to get people to talk.
And and that's a great point, Carol Lee, because as you know, vets are going to talk to vets a lot easier than a vet that's talking to somebody that's not a vet. They'll tend to clam up, but you get vets around each other, and it's the fire hose is wide open, and everybody's
Yeah.
talking, everybody's chattering, and everybody's putting on their S on their chest. Well, when I was in, but then there's a lot that comes out of those conversations that if somebody's struggling, it's also great networking as well. I mean, you can network with fellow vets, and you can find a plumber, you can find this, you can find a educational resource or something, or whatever. It's just all kinds of stuff comes out of that, and I don't know. I feel blessed that I've had some some success since I retired. I and all I could do is attribute that to folks like my pops, Master Chief Wells, my supervisors, my shipmates that I served with, and the whole thing just comes into a big old, everything just comes together, and
Right.
you get spit out, and boom, here you are, and now part of what I like to do is try and give back, and that's not trying to sound self-servient here, but by doing it through book donations and stuff, that seems to work well for me. God bless the people that take on nonprofits and head them up, and it's a lot of work. I'm on the committee with the team, the Minutes Wisely team, and it's a lot of background work that goes into helping people. And what's ironic about it is helping people sometimes is hard work.
It is. Yeah. Can
It's
be.
not easy to help people. You may have a desire to, but they actually, at the end of the tunnel, to actually spit out and help somebody, there's a lot of work involved, and it just doesn't happen like that. And I'm not talking about holding the door open at Walmart for somebody. I'm talking about sending them to a ball game like Minutes Wisely does, or there's donations, there's things, activities, and stuff that go in behind that. Gary Sinise, what he does, builds all those homes for everybody. He's very transparent. That's the other thing I'd like to talk about with nonprofits that are out there to help vets. Transparency is everything, in my opinion. I'd like to know where, if I'm donating something, I like to know where it's going. I'd like to see that. Like obviously Gary Sinise is really big, multiple layers. That's a huge foundation. He's got the staff and everybody to manage the website.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the accountants on, everybody, and I've actually, his foundation's based, I think, in Franklin, Tennessee now. I think they moved it.
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Franklin. But I was inspiring folks. If you're having a hard time out there, I would say the first thing I'd say is look up, and then get up, and don't give up.
Those are excellent words.
Yeah, I just say, don't give up, and you got people you can reach out to. And what is Fleek saying here? I'll be there one day. What's he said?
He said, I'll be there one day.
I'll be there one day.
Hey, kid. That's my middle son, Marine.
Well, hello. And I don't know if anybody's got any questions out there.
Well,
technical questions on jets or
yeah,
stuff
throw
like
some
that.
questions out there if you've got some.
Yeah.
And while we wait for that, big time nonprofit. That's what Fleek's talking about. He'll be there someday.
Ah, yes.
All right.
Yep.
Jason says that it sounds like you had some really good leadership through the years. So that is excellent.
That would be a very accurate statement.
Yes. Okay, let's see. While we wait to see.
Yeah.
He's got a question.
F-14, F-18. How you want it? What do you want to know about those jets? Hey, I'm here.
He said, so Saga says, what jets were you working on?
So my jets over 20 years in the Navy was the A-6 Intruder, the F-14 Tomcat, which was got famous in the original Top Gun movie, and then the F-18, which currently is in the Top Gun movie, Top Gun Maverick, and that's what the Blue Angels fly. Which I got stories about the Blue Angels too, but let's hear a Chili Mac story. Okay, you want to know? All right, I'm going to tell you. Since we're on no time frame here, I might as well.
That's right.
All right. So I'm going to tell you a Chili Mac story. First of all, so you on the ship, you eat 4 times a day.
Wow.
You got breakfast, lunch, dinner, and you got mid rations they call it. So you can eat pretty well out there. And so anyways, one of my favorite meals out there was Chili Mac. I just like the damn Chili Mac. I probably couldn't stomach it now if I ate it. I make my own Chili Mac, so I don't know if the ships would be good now or not. But it was good back then. I know that, so I don't think it changed. Anyways, I had the squadron. We went down to Miramar, California with the what squadron was that? We went to we were in California, and sorry, I had a moment there. And and I had about 6 F-18s with me. I had a maintenance crew and the pilots, and all that. And I say I was the maintenance chief, so I was, the maintenance officer was in charge of it, but then I was right underneath them, and so. So we went down to Miramar, and we had F-18s, and they were flying from California to the ship and coming back every night. They'd come back to the land base at night. Well, I had a radio to the ship, and there was a master chief on the ship that was the maintenance master chief. So me and him would talk daily out there. I'd be on the shore, he'd be on the ship. And I don't know, I got in a conversation with him. I go, yeah, we're going to Juan's to get burritos, which is famous in Sand Dog down there. Really good burritos. He goes, oh, man, I want one of those. I go, you're on the ship. Go eat the ship's. He goes, no. He goes, and then we started chuckling. I go, oh, you want some burritos? Huh? Okay. I go, I'll tell you what. I go, how many burritos you want? He goes, give me 20 of them. I said, okay. I go, this is what we're going to do. And some of my shipmates may or may not be happy with me on this, but this was 20 some years ago. On the F-18, there's a door in the nose that you can open up and put stuff in there and all that.
Okay.
All right. So I gave the money to the guys, my guys in Miramar. I go get some Juan burritos. Get 20 of them. Why we got so many? I go, don't ask. Just go get them. Here's the money. They bring back 20 burritos, and I go, give me a tinfoil pan too. So I come back to Miramar, the hangar where we're at, and I'm wrapping up these burritos, getting them all tight and snug. I go, all right, come here. I go, put it in the nose of that F-18. I go, what? I go, put it in the nose of the F-18. Well, for what? I go, don't ask, just put it in there. So the jet takes off. The idea was Master Chief was going to have Chili Mac in a tin pan for me, not just for me, for the squadron. All right. And so they flew the jet out there. The Master Chief went up on the flight deck, opened up that door, took the food, put the other food, shut the door. The jet comes back. It lands back in Miramar, and out comes the shipboard Chili Mac for the troops. That's a true story.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So in an F-18, and Uber Eats got nothing on me.
Right? I guess not. I would say not. So
yeah. So anyway,
Jason says The F-14 Tomcat was the jet that I wanted to fly until I got glasses in the 5th grade. Sent me in a totally different direction in my life. And Scott says, Polly and Richard Fleet do great work for the vets. You're okay for Navy guys. My uncle was in the Army as a lieutenant colonel.
Boy, would I love to have that Navy beat Army sign in my office right now, but I would be showing that right now to Scott. Anyway.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
And in fact, Scott says he cheers for the Navy during Army-Navy games.
Yeah, don't tell my uncle. He always says,
right?
Don't tell my uncle. Scott's a fun guy. He retired medic or paramedic. Yeah, Scott is. And this PTSD doesn't just affect military vets. It affects our first responders, our police, our firemen, our nurses.
Anybody with severe trauma.
Anybody. If it's not, I don't know. You could be on a motorcycle.
Just military, absolutely. And I actually agree with it being shortened to PTS instead of PTSD.
Yes.
Because it isn't a disorder. I wouldn't call it a disorder.
I am 100% on board with you on that. I really think that it's not a disorder, and it's something that there's all kinds of different ways and things that fellow vets are trying to get pushed through Congress and to help out with the mental stuff. And there's everything from, I guess, psychedelics to whatever, everything under the sun. Vets are trying to help out fellow vets, and I don't know, I give you the F-14 just real quick was a great jet for Top Gun, the movie. It could do so many things, but as a maintainer, I'll give you some ratios here that I remember. It was when we had the F-14s, we tracked maintenance hours to flight hours. So how many maintenance hours it took for one flight hour, right? In the F-14, if I recall right, we had, for one flight hour, it would take 50 to 70 maintenance hours to get one flight hour on the F-14. It was a big airplane. It was a mechanical airplane. It was a beast, and it was beautiful to look at, and it was powerful, and it was great and it was a great jet. When we got the F-18s, the jet was a little bit more modular. That means things can come off of that jet, engine pieces and stuff.
Right.
Quick disconnect, really quick. So for a F-18, we had one flight hour. It would take us about 25 maintenance hours to keep that jet on a schedule. So the F-18 and technology improved our readiness for combat readiness, just because the design of it. A maintenance crew on a F-14 could take 4 hours to get an engine out, whereas on an F-18 it would take us an hour, or take the guys an hour. We just launched a campaign to help out a local woman I just met here in the borough. She lost her husband. Minutes Wisely is working on a project for a spouse of a vet that passed. So these foundations, the Minutes Wisely is doing good things for people, and you can see it. It's tangible. It's posted. You can see when a vet goes to a game and how happy they are and all that. So it's great work. And like I said, we got a great team on Minutes Wisely.
So what is, so Richard, if you can type in for me what that GoFundMe is, and I'll go ahead and get that posted out there in a banner.
And also, shameless plug here, Carolee, but my links to my books, like I said, if we sell books, it goes to Minutes Wisely. So anybody interested in them, if people want signed copies, they'd have to Facebook message me privately, and I could set that up. But give me next week though.
Right. I'm trying to see. Let me add Minutes Wisely here too. So hang on just a second. And is it minuteswisely.org?
Maybe Fleek ought to put that in the chat. Just type it up. Or put it on your post. That's what I did. My
Here
book.
it is, I think. Yep, found it.
All right.
Okay. So.
But some of them foundations out there, I wonder about. You know what I mean, Carol Lee? I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah, I understand. And it's nice when we're able to do some research on them, see what they're all about. So there is, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in the comments as well for anybody that's out there. Thank you. It's .com. Yes, got it. So I've also put it out there in the chats, or am putting it out there in the chats. So feel free, if it's something that you want to help with and donate to, you can do that there. You can get a hold of me, get a hold of Richard Fleek, or get a hold of Polly, and they can certainly help direct you where you need to go.
Yep.
Let's see.
So I talked about the books.
So let me ask you about when you retired.
Yeah.
And you were transitioning to civilian life.
Uh-huh.
Did the Navy provide you any resources to help you?
Yeah, so back then, this was 20 years ago, they had a class called TAPS, Transitional Assistance Program. Mm-hmm. And they did provide like 2 days of resources. Yeah. And maybe to make this more at a personal level for me, I didn't specifically need that, because in the military, I was already driven to get myself ready to get out by doing my school and all that. And I didn't need the TAPS class. I already had my own vision and doing my own I was ready to go. I was set. I was way good to go when I went out of military to civilian sector. I had no problems. But that TAPS class back then was only 2 days. And, I don't know. I have no idea what it's like now for a troop to get out of the military and transition to civilian life. I have no idea what that's like. I wish I knew. Let's hear some PI stories. Fleet. All right, yeah. Don't you got a brisket to smoke or something?
Oh, we're going to your house, Fleek.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't you got a brisket to smoke?
That's wonderful.
But yeah, TAPS, I'm not sure what TAPS is like these days. The vets, I just had a nephew get out of Marines, my nephew Nick, and, talking about resources and all, he's got the new GI Bill. And he's going to college for that, and that's working out well for him. He's playing hockey in college and all that stuff. He's happy camper. I don't know, other resources I would say that I could think of would be just dial in with vets. I had somebody made a comment in here earlier that hold on a second, I had some great leadership, and I had some great leadership. And this is both officer and enlisted, and I had people that I looked up to, and I says, how do I get there? What do I got to do? And so my point is vets that are out there that are having a hard time figuring things out, trying to get first foot in front of take that first step. Find those vets out there, or are doing things that you go, I want to be that person. Use that same kind of tactic and talk to these people. Talk to me. Talk to whoever. I could, if somebody's an aviation person, I got my whole life is aviation. I could definitely, mentor them or help them or give them a direction, as Paul as me, hey, this is what I did and all that. But you know what? You got to do the work. You got to do the work. And you know what? Maybe I'm sounding a little curmudgeon, retired old Navy chief now. I don't know, but you know what? Nobody's going to give you nothing. You got to go get it.
There you go.
You got to go get it. And you know what? You probably, and this is just, I'm philosophical sometimes, so excuse me, but if somebody were to give me something, I wouldn't value it as much as if I earned it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, I wouldn't. It made it too easy. I wouldn't probably appreciate it as much. And, you know, coming up out of Chicago as a kid, you know, growing up on a union mechanics income for our household, my pops was very creative. So my pops taught me character is how you treat those who can do nothing for you. That's how character is measured. And my pops I watched him deal with people that had lots of money. I had watched him deal with people in the neighborhood that didn't have any money. He treated everybody the same. And he could talk to anybody. He could talk to the janitor. He could talk to the CEO. This guy was just, he had charisma, and he could fit in different arenas and all kinds of different situations. But I watched him as a young kid, and I saw how he treated everybody, and he treated them with respect, you know. So those are attributes I learned well before the military and all that. And you know, the military taught you a lot. Well, you know, before the military, I lived a pretty disciplined, structured life, and I'll go back to my athletic days, because that's what I was into, and by default, I lived a very structured life that was good for the military life. And I already said that, but what are we getting out here? What was my favorite part of working on the F-18? Okay, my favorite part about the F-18 was it was easy to keep on the flight schedule. So F-18s go out. So at a typical squadron day, Carolee at the F-18 squadron, jets would go out, 3 or 4 jets would go out 3 or 4 times a day on sorties. And those flights would be 1.1 hours, 1.3, whatever flight time. They'd come back, and the pilots would break them, guys would fix them, and then we'd get them ready for the next launch sequence. And we had a flight schedule every day. And so my favorite part of the F-18 was how, as a maintenance chief, is how it was so much easier to keep it on the flight schedule than it was an F-14. Because the F-14,
Okay.
yeah. So that's my answer to that.
It's actually really great that you mentioned that, because
Yeah.
Richard was curious, maintenance-wise, how did the F-14 and 18 compare?
Oh, well, okay. And like I was saying earlier, so the F-14 was a cool plane to look at,
Right.
and it was a huge airplane. The F-14, like I said, it would take us, I'm just going to say it, 70 maintenance hours. I mean, it took 70 maintenance hours for just one flight hour to get that thing on the schedule. 70.
That is a lot of time.
Yes. Whereas an F-18 took 25 maintenance hours to one flight hour to get on the schedule. And I don't know if he's being serious about that question or not. I don't know. Fleet could be pulling, you know, I know, because I put that out there already. I would tell shipmate, hey, listen up.
There you go.
But yeah. Oh, then he's going to give me the whole, chief. You know, I retired 20 years ago. So, you know, and yeah, I'm proud of what I did and my service. And, you know, it was, you know, sometimes, you know, I mean, once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. Once you're a chief, you're always a chief. But that was so long ago for me that, you know, I'm connected, but I'm not, you know.
So talking about Marines, so my oldest is now, as of April 18th, a Marine veteran. And my middle son, who is out here in the chat, is also a Marine, active currently. And so one of the questions, so my oldest would ask of my guest, since he's not here tonight, is, did you ever get to serve alongside Marines?
Absolutely. And before I answer that, my brother-in-law, Joe, he's online. Thank you, Joey. My brother-in-law is he's a outstanding guy. I love him to death. Thanks for joining in, Joe.
I didn't think you were yelling out there, Joe. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, he's my man right there, Joey. All right. So yeah, my in-laws are in Chicago. Great family. Anyways, I'm glad that he's joining in. So, all right, Marines. I love Marines. Marines, and I'm going to say that the Marines uniforms, when they look the sharpest. I'm going to give it to them. They look the
They
sharpest.
really are. I mean, they're not just like all one color. Yeah.
Yeah. The Marines, I love them. So on the Carl Vinson, back in the day, back in 84 to 88, when me and Rich Fleek were on the ship together and a bunch of other people, the Marines, so the Carl Vinson's nuclear, and it's not a big surprise. They got nuclear reactors that run that thing.
Yep.
And to get down to the nuclear spaces, there's entrances, but they're guarded with back in 84, 88. It was with a Marine standing there with an M16. And if you didn't have a right to go down there, you weren't going down there. You were not going to go down there. And the Marines are our security force on board the ship when we're out there back in my day. And so we would get things. So on the ship, throughout the whole ship, 5,000 people. It's huge ship. We have the speaker systems, so announcements get made, and you can hear this thing go off all day. But when they announce over the ship's intercom, security alert, security alert. What that means is, as you're walking down one of the hallways, we call it passageways on the ship, when you hear that come over to intercom, security alert, you get your behind up against the wall and you keep it there, because this is why Marines are running down those P-ways, which are as long as a football field, and you can see them way down there coming at you. And these Marines, when they're coming down there on a security alert, you just better be up against, because if you're in the way,
they see somebody running, they think they're chasing. That's who they need to chase.
Everybody on the ship knows when security alerts, you get up against the wall, period. And they are
very. How wide would you say the pathways are?
Yeah, about like this.
Yeah, so not right. I mean, they're not very wide, so you need to give them some room.
No, they're not. They're not very wide. And like let's see what we got.
Oh, so Richard and so Fleek and Jason, my husband, are chatting out there, and Jason calls everybody sir.
Yeah, I know. So, Fleek is the same age as me.
Yeah. So well, it's funny. He says, "Don't call me sir. Makes me sound as old as Polly."
Yeah. No, hey.
I love the banter. Absolutely love the banter.
It's constant. Trust me, as you know.
Yeah. It just makes sense.
Hey, anybody got any shipboard questions? Any ship carrier questions? I don't know. Whatever you got out there, I'm here. Or you could.
So since you were working in the air traffic control area of the ship, how difficult was it when there was a flight with no moon and a lot of pitch? I mean, I could just imagine that anxiety level, right?
I got goosebumps again. I do. I got goosebumps.
Yeah, the hair on your arm sticking up.
You know why? Because you just put me up in the tower at night on a sea state that's rough. The ship is pitching. We got 25 jets out there. All right. So the way the jets land, let me break this up for real quick. During the daytime, jets, they land in a pattern. They go a regular circular pattern, just for simplicity, circle. And at night, so during the day, up at the tower, it's called primary flight control. During the day, we control the airspace 10 miles around the ship, up in the tower, and the jets are coming in, they're landing, boom, 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 a minute and a half sequence, whatever. At night, what happens when the jets are coming in at nighttime is we marshal those jets. So this means this. So they're no longer circling around the ship and all that. They're straight back aft 21 miles, and they're stacked up 1,000 feet separation between each one. And then what happens is this jet coming in and land, that's the next one coming in straight on final approach. It's under radar control. Then the next one drops down, and then the next one drops down, and then they come in and they do that. So at night from the tower, the aircraft have visual lights on them, depending on the type of airplane. I could tell you the difference between a F-14 and an F-18 just by the lights coming towards the ship on the jet. Yeah, and the communicate, and we're on radio with them, so we know what jet they are and all that. But it gets very intense in a control tower environment, especially one like that where what we call no bingo. So no bingo for the audience means that when we're in blue water ops on a carrier, blue water ops means aircraft carrier is out in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So when that jet takes off, that jet has to come back to the ship to land because we're so far away from land, the jet can't make it to a land base to land if he needed to. So they have to land on board the ship. That's the only place they can land, or they put it in the water, which would be an accident, obviously. Anyways, and I lost my train of thought again. I'm getting a little older. I go to bed at like 8 o'clock.
Yeah, well, you still got but
I like this because I'm trying to share as much as I can for everybody.
Oh yeah.
So air traffic control environment on a carrier is very.
Let's see. We've got Fleek has got questions, boy. Okay, let's see.
All right.
Now I don't know what order these are. Well, I know what order he's putting them in, but how it pertains to the current topic, I'll let you be the decider on this. Okay.
Question number 1 from Fleek.
Let's talk displacement.
All right. He's talking about water displacement on a ship. That's how you measure the size of it and all that. His first question is, okay, can you write backwards? So up in the control tower environment, we know how to write backwards. We write backwards on these boards so that the air boss and the mini boss can look behind them and it's forward looking to them.
Correct.
So I know how to write backwards. That's one thing you learn up in the tower environment. You get trained on it. It takes you a while, but the other question is he asked, what's a bolter? So when a jet comes in and the tail hook is down and they're going for the cable, what happens is there's 4 wires. When the jet comes into those cables, the hook didn't catch any of the cables. So what happens is when a pilot's coming in to land on board a carrier, when they get into the cable area and they're coming down and the wheels touch, they go to full power right away. Because if the hook misses one of the cables, the engine, the spool rate, the engine can have enough power to take it and go back around. All right, that's number 1.
Okay, let me hide that. Let's go back. Hang on. Why do they break over the ship first, then circle around and land? Because
that's what slows them down. So they come in to break. There's a pattern that they fly during the day, like I was saying, and it's structured pattern. So they'll come in to break doing, come in hot. We call it fast. They come in fast. So if the carrier, if the carrier is going this way, the jet will come in to break fast. He slows down, and then he comes abeam the ship, which we call downwind. When he's in downwind, he drops his landing gear, the wings, the flaps that come down behind the wings. He drops that. His hook comes down. When he's coming around the 90, which is a beam 90 degrees from the ship, we're checking to make sure his gear is down, his hook is down, his flaps are down, his nose bar link that he uses to get on the catapult, that thing is up. And then he comes in the final, which is 90s, we call it in the groove at the 90-degree point. And then when he comes in the final, we verify he's all set. The cables are set for a Tomcat. The cables are set for 54,000 pounds. An F-18, the cables are set for 36,000 pounds. So you got to have the cable set right for the proper weight for the proper aircraft.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if the jet catches one of those cables and it's not set correctly, the cable's going to be pulled out. It's going to snap. And it's going to put the jet in the water, and you're going to have ejections going on.
Okay, so what's the Ouija board?
He is, boy, I think he's drank a Red Bull or something here. So, all right, the Ouija board is, okay, so you remember the tower, that picture you saw the back of my head, the tower? All right, at the bottom of the tower is called flight deck control. So even though the tower primary is in control of all the airplanes in the pattern, I think he's jerking I think he's messing with me now.
He might be. He just might be. Okay, go ahead. Keep going though. This is
I'll
fun.
answer this. He's questioned out after this. So, but it's good questions because it makes you talk about the ship structure and all that. So at the bottom of the tower is called flight deck control. So the top of the tower, we control the airplanes in the airspace and get them down on the ship. Once the jets land on the ship, flight deck control now has a Ouija board, basically a big old table aircraft carrier, and they use different bolts and this and a pen and this and that, and they put these little things all over the flight deck to put the jets in the right spot for parking. That's called the Ouija.
Okay.
So,
and that's why they use the nuts and bolts on the Ouija board.
Yes. So there you go.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, we've got one more here. He's testing your memory. Who has more power, the Master Chief or the Ensign?
Oh God, come on. The Master Chief. My goodness. The Master Chief has more power than everybody except the skipper.
He is cracking himself up.
Just testing your memory, buddy. I think what I'm doing is I'm doing a fan course for him back on board a ship and what it's like. Because the last cruise he went on was back in '87. Hell, but after '87, I did 3 more of them or 4 more of them or whatever. All right.
That's so funny. So before we get too far out, so there is something I wanted to see about if I can bring this up. I'm going to see if I can share. Let's see.
What? Oh, is he saying what is the ball? All right, the ball.
Oh yeah, he got. Yeah. What is the ball?
That's a good question. I'll explain that.
Go ahead.
So the question is what is the ball? So when the pilot is coming in towards the ship, right? The folks off to the left of the landing area, the landing signal officers.
Yeah.
They're talking the jet down into the final approach. They're talking to them, telling them to give power, come to the right for line up on the center line, come to the left. The pilot has his gear, his flaps, his hook down. And what he's doing is it's a visual aid, the ball. So there's horizontal lights out to the left of the landing area. There's horizontal lights, and then there's vertical lights, okay? And then there's 2 red lights up, or 4 red lights up here. So as the pilot's coming in, if the ball is taking account for the pitch of the ship, the glide slope, it ties into the proper glide slope for the pilot to descend down to. If the ball comes down in the pilot's view, if the ball comes down, he has to bring the jet up.
Because it's going to come back up.
Yeah, if the ball goes up, then he has to come down. He wants that ball in the middle of those horizontal lights to come down on glide path.
Look at that. See, we are learning. We are learning so much.
You know what? Hey, Fleek, if you bought my book, it's all in Home Away from Home. I explain it. I even got the pattern of the day pattern for the jets, the night pattern. It's all in the book. And then donate the money back to yourself for your foundation.
Oh, that's funny. Why doesn't the LSO wear earplugs? It sounds like a really bad joke.
No. All right, we're done with Rich.
So let's talk about this golf fundraiser.
Yeah. That's going to be Minutes Wisely's putting on a fundraiser, a golf tournament on 9/11. And right there, this advertisement is splattered all over Facebook and YouTube, probably Instagram, I don't know where else. And if you click on the QR code there, you can enroll. And what it is you could sponsor a hole and have your advertisement out on that hole, and then you can have 4 players. So each player, I think, is $125. I think I can't remember now.
Unless you do a team of 4, and then it's $100 a
And
play.
yeah, unless you do a team of 4, and then if you sponsor a hole, it's another $100. So, and right now, I know Carol Lee, you got a spot.
I've got a team of 4.
We got.
I want you to know we went out today
Uh-huh.
because I have not swung a club in at least 3 years. Not that I was any good to begin with, but I got a blister. That's how much I was practicing today.
Good. Hey, do you know Trent? Dennis? No. Okay. No, never mind. He's a golf instructor. He's good. I use him. I have a team. We have a team. My wife and I. She probably. I don't know if she's going to partake in it or not. She's not a golfer, but I'm going to just say me and her got a team. Whatever.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a team of 4.
Yeah. Yeah. My one of my sons, Andrew, may come in for that. I'm not sure in September. I don't know. It's a ways away, but the point is we still have open slots to fill for the tournament. So people, please, if you want to, you pay $100 to golf at a good course anyway. So why not, why not just get a team, join the tournament, and then the money goes to a good cause for Minutes Wisely's Foundation. And George Simpson, one of our board members, he's doing a really, really good job of managing this tournament. And hats off to him. It's a lot of work, but he's doing a great job with that. And it's a team effort. Rich is overseeing the whole thing, obviously, but George is one of our team members. He's doing a great job of managing this thing, and so yeah, that's coming up. That's coming up on
September
9/11.
11th.
What's that?
September 11th.
Yeah, September 11th, people.
So if you know of anybody, and this is for the audience, if you know of anybody who is interested in sponsoring or donating prizes, certainly you can get a hold of myself, Richard Fleek, Polly, any one of us, and we can make sure that gets to where it needs to go. Looks like also, now you said down at the bottom, if there's G Simpson.
Yeah, George Simpson. He's basically the one making. He's doing. If I want to call it, he's doing all the legwork. Him.
Okay. So him as well, since his number, his email address is there.
The PLC on this project. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, he's definitely if you got any questions, you could contact any of us. You get us on Facebook. You got Trent, Cynthia, Lance, myself, Rich, George, obviously.
and certainly,
and,
you can come to me.
And Roy. There's a bunch of us on Facebook. We're all on the Fleek's team here. So,
And we'd love to have you come on out. This is the inaugural golf fundraiser. So it's going to be at Cedar Crest in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Love to have you. Or you can call George, whoever George is. That would be at this number, the 615-499-2305 number.
Yeah, George will have all your answers, and if we can't answer them.
So I have to ask, are you guys going to be doing like team shirts? I seriously was considering doing that.
What's that? I'm sorry?
Team shirts?
I'm going to defer that to Rich right now. I'm sure there's more to come. I know we got meetings coming up and all that for the board, but
yeah, I was thinking of doing some team shirts for my team.
I don't know if you're going to have them just for your team, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, that's fun.
I definitely wanted to get this put out there, and again, all the proceeds. Richard Fleet cracked me up. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't worry about taking credit. But yeah, so anybody wants to help out, please, here, let me throw that out there here, and then you can read it.
It's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't worry about taking credit. No, it's teamwork. Yep, I agree. Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right.
You got to do something. That's
so
true.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things going on that if you're interested in helping veterans and you don't know how to or anything of that nature, prime example, you can jump in, help and support these fundraisers. Do a little bit of homework, see what they're all about. But in this particular instance, this is the first ever golf fundraiser. So I'm really excited to join this one. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun. So come on out and join us again.
Yeah.
That's September 11th.
Absolutely. And then Charlie's Single Tree Barbecue has the Veterans Bash the following weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Charlie's our sponsor. And he's got great barbecue, and definitely check him out. So he's our sponsor. There's a Veterans Bash the following weekend. I should have had my readers on at the beginning. I can read these comments.
Oh,
Thank God you were propped in the comments. I can see them much better now. Yeah, I'm just being philosophical. Fleek says, yeah. You're very philosophical for a Sunday night at 8:00, Rich. Anyways, I don't know what else I could put out there. I do know.
Let's see.
This is great. I'm having a good time here. Thank you, Carolee, for having me.
Absolutely. It looks like some of these just don't kick up fast enough, like on my phone. And yes, Single Tree Barbecue is veteran owned. So that's another way you can help out veterans and their businesses. So.
Yeah, and Charlie's got great food.
And where are they located?
They're off of 96 towards Franklin. I don't know the exact. Single Tree Barbecue. You could Google it.
Fleek, where are they at? He types fast.
Yeah, he's our resident IT guy too. He's pretty savvy with computers and all that. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, so I think, yeah, we're going to have to try that. We just got to find out where it's at beforehand. But all right, any other questions we have for Polly? And I think we've touched on so many things. I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. I don't get this chance that often. I used to do a lot more, and we moved from Texas. In Texas, I was doing air show events. I was doing book signings at air shows, at barbecue places. I had carte blanche access to a bunch of stuff because that's where I had started all this stuff. And though my wife and I are new to Tennessee, we're just trying to, I'm just trying to expand my outreach and my little thing I'm doing with the books to help out Minutes Wisely. And so meeting a lot of people and, just like Texas, Tennessee is a great veteran support state. So I know I'm in the right place. That's for sure. But
a great community here. I'm just so impressed.
Yeah. Everybody, it's definitely a very friendly veteran state, and but
and in truth, the governor of Tennessee last year in 2023 had signed something in effect looking to make this state the best state for veterans.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fleek just put the barbecue.
He did. Barbecue. So yeah. So if anybody wants to support Single Tree Barbecue, they are at 2805 Old Fort Parkway here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Yeah, they're Minutes Wisely's main sponsor. Yep.
Excellent. So we will have to check that out.
I'm trying to help out a veteran though. Conversations go a long ways, and you gotta put yourself out there. If a vet is struggling, trying to figure things out, getting a job or whatever, probably, and I don't do this, but for no reason, but you go to the VFW and start talking. Hey guys, I need some help. I'm looking for a job. What do you do? Well, I drive a forklift. Oh, I work at Home Depot. Boom, put an app in. I mean,
network. Yeah, networking.
Just network. Because nobody's going to give anything to you. Like I said a couple times already. And I don't want to sound like the chief or the old football coach here, but you got to go get it. You got to go get it. I'm also on. Fleek also runs 2 podcast shows that bring awareness to his nonprofit foundation, Minutes Wisely.
Yep.
And I'm on one of his podcast shows, the Nosebleed Reports, and they elected me as the ranter for the show a couple years ago. So check this out, Carol Lee. It's Sunday morning at 9:00. The show goes on, and I'm supposed to get all ranting and pissed off about something sports related, just to make it, and I'm like, God almighty, man, So, but yeah, every Sunday at 9:00 Central, Nosebleed Reports is on, and we talk about the current sporting events and right now we're kind of in a lull. It's baseball. We got hockey playoffs coming up. Like Dallas Stars are on right now, Game 6 playoffs hockey. It really gets more dynamic during football season. But right now, tune in every Sunday though if you want to catch up on the local sports out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do call it the way I see it. I try not to be disrespectful, obviously. Obviously I don't want to disrespect anybody, and it's called the rants. It's a rant, and it's all it is. It's part of the show, people. I'm not really.
Richard says.
What did he say?
Polly's Corner.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
The banter is great. I love it. I love the chats. Everybody in the chats, you guys have been wonderful to interact with tonight. It's been just an absolute pleasure, Polly, to have you join me tonight. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. And if hopefully before September 11th, but if not, we will see you on the greens then. Hopefully you're getting some practice in.
And I want to give a shout out to my brother-in-law, Joey. Joey's a great guy. He's got some needs, biggest heart in the world, great guy. And I want to just shout out my wife, Francine said it. And anyways, I just love the guy. And thanks, Fleekster.
Yes, indeed.
I know.
What did you say? What did you say you were? How tall? 5'7"?
5'7". Uh-huh.
Yeah, we already talked about Polly's height.
Yeah, so there you go, Rich. Rich, once again, did you not take notes? Did you not listen?
He's not a very good secretary, is he?
Yeah.
So one of these days we'll need to beforehand, maybe we can all get together. I am terrible at golf, but I love going out and having fun with it. Yeah. So we can get together, check
that
out.
That would be great. I'm always up for going out golf. I golf once a week, usually at Indian Hills because it's close.
Okay. Yeah. We're over on the opposite side of town.
Yeah, we're going to be in Clarksville, actually.
Yeah, so we're a lot closer to Cedar Hills. So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my buddies are chiming. No short jokes. I know. Yeah, 5'7" staying in a milk crate. I know. Hey, go shave that beard off, Fleekster.
Oh, that's great fun.
If you shave that thing off, there'll probably be critters jumping out of that thing. Okay.
Oh, we got some smack talk.
Well, that's what goes on now.
That's right.
This is what sailors do on a ship when we're bored. We're either playing dominoes, we're yelling at each other, we're talking smack, we're sleeping. I go to the gym or whatever. You're writing letters. You do what. It's just ingrained in us, and it's not just the Navy. Everybody.
Oh no, and it goes across military branches too.
Yes. Oh, big time, as you know. Now
you do.
Yeah. So I think I said everything I needed. I talked about our kids, my story, the books. Like I said, I couldn't do a lot of this stuff without my wife's support. My pops was inspirational. Master Chief Wells was awesome, and I just want to say thank you for what you do, Carol Lee, because you gave this vet almost 2 hours, and I think we got some information out there that might be helpful to some vets.
We absolutely did. And really this is for you, for our veterans. That's what this platform is for. And I do have a max of 3 hours. But you know,
Well,
we'll
heck,
go as
let me roll up my sleeves.
I know. You'd but I really appreciate you guys coming on, each and every one of you, and taking time, away from family to do this, and appreciate continuing to serve in doing, the nonprofits and doing your books and really getting the words out there, and they resonate with other veterans. So, and I know that that's the point, right? That's to help yourself, as well.
Mhm.
It's almost as good as actually talking about it in like a format like this, but you're actually writing the words down. It's a lot of them.
I just want to add one thing to that. Writing the words down. So I was in a combat zone, but I was on a aircraft
Right,
carrier.
right.
Come on, I mean, our mission was to support the ground troops on the ground. So I don't have any anxiety or anything like that, whatever. But because I was an aircraft carrier. I mean, come on, I did. We all do what we do, and it all works. Everybody does their part. That was my part, my experience. But writing books and doing books was therapeutic in a sense that it was fun to write that stuff down and give credit where I could remember to give credit to who and what and when, and it was enjoyable. So anyways, I just wanted to say that as an author, it's easy to write when you're passionate about something. And only one last thing I want to say. The Veterans Crisis Line. If anybody out there has a crisis that they need to talk to somebody to, you can call 800-273-8255. That is the Veterans Crisis Line. And somebody will be there to answer the call.
Yes, 100%.
So I just wanted to say that.
Well, thank you for that. All right, everybody, please, when the show ends, go out, hit the thumbs up button, share with your friends, family, and please make a comment. We love that. YouTube loves it when you make a comment, lets them know we're on the right track and helps push out the content more. And then also hit the notification button so that you will be notified of upcoming shows. They're usually Sunday nights at 6 p.m. Central Time. I do have a show that will be in a little over a week, and it is going to be a little oddball because it's going to be during the week and about an hour and a half earlier. So I'll keep you all posted on that as well. So again, thank you, each and every one of you, for being with me and with Polly tonight, joining the conversation. You guys have all been great. So we're going to see you again next Sunday. And let's see, who do we have coming up next Sunday? So that we have Sarah Lancia. So we had her husband, Chris Lancia, on, and Sarah is an Army veteran. I believe that's what we have. So she'll be on next Sunday. And then let's go back to the month so we can see here. So, and then we've got we're not going to do a show on the 16th. That is Father's Day. We want you all to enjoy your time together with family. On the 18th at 4:30, we have Scotty Hastings, and he is a veteran and he is an up-and-coming musician. So he has signed, I'm not sure who he's signed with, but he has now a contract. So he will be on the show. And on the 23rd, We have Brandon Cooper, and he is a Marine vet. Talked with him yesterday, and he is part of Veteran Voice Radio, I believe is what it's called. And let's see, who else do we have? We'll finish this month out here. And then, the 30th of June, we've got Killian Shelton, and he is a Marine vet. That is our oldest son. And he's the one who he got out on April 18th. So he'll be here to tell his story. So,
and I'd be interested to hear what he has to say about TAPS or that transitional class, what it's
he
like.
went through it. He did.
This was 20 years ago when I did it. I mean, it doesn't even count no more. You know?
Oh, it counts. It all counts.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how, I wish I had more relevant, up-to-date information for people, but your son will.
He will, absolutely. And it's only been, a short amount of time. So he'll be really up to speed there. Yeah. So Jason says, thank you for your service. And again, we really appreciate you coming out. The show that we have here, yes, it is only on YouTube, but if I think about it and remember, I do put the link out on my Facebook channel, the recording. So you can go back and watch it from there if you want.
That's how I've been doing it, sharing it on Facebook that way.
Yeah. So, all right. So, again, everybody, thank you. And Polly, if you want to hang tight for me while we go ahead and sign on out. Everybody have a great week.
Thank you, everybody, for comments.